Welcome back to the Cakers channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Do you want to see step by step how I created this beautiful crackled fondant effect? If that's you, stick around to the end of this video. So we started off this lovely cake with a cake that's already filled and crumb coated and had its final coat on. I'm just going around the cake with some buttercream to fill in any tiny spots and to make this cake perfect. So even though the cake is going to be covered with fondant, it still needs to be flawless. Nice sharp sides, sharp edges, straight sides and straight top. I'm using my little cake leveling tool to make sure that everything is sitting straight. This is me rolling out some fondant. I'm just kneading it to make it a lot more pliable and easy to work with. I colored this fondant a day in advance just to let the color develop over time. That's very important when you're trying to get specific colors. I'm using my very long rolling pin to roll this fondant in a long rectangular shape. The reason for that is because, as you can see, the cake is very tall. It was sitting at around 12 or 13 inches in height. And I'm using the paneling method to cover this cake. So I'm shaping the fondant as I'm rolling, and I'll just keep on rolling and measuring with my measuring tape, as you see I did just now, to make sure that I'll have enough fondant to completely wrap around the sides of the cake with some overlapping, so that I can cut the overlapping bits and create a nice seamless finish at the back of the cake. Once I've rolled the cake to the perfect size, I'm just dabbing it with some cornstarch and rubbing it with my fondant smoother to get rid of any little rough spot that's on the fondant to make sure it's nice and smooth. As you can see, I lifted the fondant off the table to make sure that it's not sticking, because what I'm doing now, I'm using a blowtorch to blow over the fondant. As you can see, it's getting darker at the bits that the flame has hit. So you want to blowtorch the fondant all over its surface until you see some tiny bubbles coming up on it. And once it's all done blowtorching, we are going to go ahead and prepare a little round bit for the top of the cake. But before we get to that, we're using this confectioner's glaze. Yes, that's what that liquid in my hand is called. It's confectioner's glaze. We're using this glaze to brush over the fondant to create this locked shiny finish on the fondant, and it's sugary, so it will be perfect to help with that crackled fondant effect. All right, so get a brush and paint this confectioner's glaze all over the fondant that you've just blowtorched. We're going to repeat the same step for the piece of fondant that's going to go on the top of the cake. As I mentioned before, we're using the paneling method to cover this very tall cake. The cake size is 6 inches round and it's about 12 or 13 inches in height. Once I'm done covering the cake with the confectioner's glaze, I left it for about 10 to 15 minutes for the glaze to set, but believe me, it was almost set immediately. I'm getting now a little container with my edible gold luster dust. I'm going to be adding some alcoholic beverage or some lemon extract to just make the dust into a paste, and I'm using a brush again to spread that edible gold paste all over the fondant. I am doing it several times to get a nice finish. I want the gold to be perfect on the cakes. I want it to be well covered and not showing any of that burgundy fondant underneath it. Once I painted the gold, I let it sit for another 10 to 15 minutes just for the gold and everything to harden. Then I'm using my rolling pin to roll the fondant in several different directions to create that nice crackled pattern. Look at how beautiful that is. And once I'm happy with the top, we're going to move on to creating that same beautiful crackled effect on this long piece of fondant. Remember, when you're doing this crackled effect, you're rolling the fondant thinner. So when you roll it at first, you need to make it a little smaller than the size that you want it to be, because now we're rolling it again, it's going to be a lot bigger again. But you still need to go around it with your measuring tape and your cutting tools to cut away the excess, and continue to measure as you do this to make sure that you are having the right size to go around your cake. That crackled effect is just perfect. Make sure to give this a try, and if you do, please tag me in your videos or send me a photo on Instagram. My Instagram is Trev's Escape. It's all linked in my YouTube bio as well. Make sure to share your work with me. I'm super excited to see what you come up with. Once I'm happy with the size of the fondant and all the beautiful crackles, I'm rolling the fondant up on my rolling pin. I started off by covering the top of the cake. I'm cutting away the excess fondant with my scissors. I did put this cake in the fridge for about 5 minutes just to let the fondant firm up, and now I'm using an X-Acto blade to cut away the excess fondant. What I'm spreading on the cake is water, so I'm using water to act as the glue to hold the fondant on the cake. I'm carefully unrolling this fondant around this tall cake. This is what I like about the paneling method. If I was doing a blanket method for this, believe me, I would have messed up around 5 times. I would have had to peel the whole thing off and start again. But with the paneling method, I just make sure that my measurements are correct, and I carefully wrap the fondant around the cake. As you can see, I cut it where it overlapped. I removed the excess fondant, and now I'm using water to stick the two ends together, and it's going to create a nice, almost seamless finish. Once I am done putting the two ends together, I'm carefully going around the cake with my cake smoother. I'm using a sharp fondant tool as well to cut away the excess fondant from the bottom of the cake. As you can see, I'm using my X-Acto blade to poke tiny holes into the fondant to release any air pockets that's there. If you have any air pockets underneath your fondant, guys, those air pockets will only get bigger and ruin all of your hard work. So take your time to go around the cake. Search for those air pockets like you're mining for gold, and you get rid of them. Look at that crackled fondant. Absolutely amazing. This has been a trending design for a long time, and I was super excited when my bride said to me, this is the effect that I want on my cake. I was like, challenge accepted. This was my first time doing it, and I had so much fun doing it. These are the flowers my client wanted. Just wanted them to decide, and that's the cake. Very cute, very simple. She just requested for it to be nice, tall, and sexy. And you tell me down below in the comment section how well you think I did. I was trying to hide those white wires that I used to hold the flowers on by putting some of the fondant over it, but it wasn't looking good, so I changed my mind and I painted them gold. The cake was still a little bit too low, so I glued 2 cake boards together, and I'm putting this very cute gold rhinestone ribbon around the base of the cake board just to give it that fiery look. This is the finished cake, guys. My bride, she was so happy, and you know, once my clients are happy, I am happy. If you learned a lot from this video and you liked it, please let me know in the comment section. Ask your questions down below. Please share this video with your friends and family. Make sure you are subscribed for more cake decorating tutorials. Until next time, keep on baking.